Welcome to Before I Do, the show that talks about and covers what should be done before you walk down the aisle. If you're engaged, if you want to be engaged, you don't want to be engaged, you want to be married, not sure if you want to be married, this is the show for you. Thank you for tuning in. Our goal is to facilitate courageous conversations and topics relevant to dating and relationships.
Before I Do is intended to be an interactive call and response show. So if you have any comments or questions, please be sure to place them in the chat. My name is Walter Jennings.
My name is CHARMAINE Jennings.
And we are your Couples Academy practitioners. And it is our honor to bring to you tonight's episode of Before I Do. We've started in a series of online dating. Really gave a lot of great information, learned a lot about dating apps and profiles and sites. I certainly learned a lot as far as when it comes to various dating sites that are available. So we're going to continue on with this whole idea of this virtual digital world as it relates to dating and relationships. And we're going to transition into a more common area when it comes to online presence, something that I'm a little bit more familiar with, not familiar with the dating side as much, but definitely familiar with social media. So,
which has not been my favorite thing, to be honest. I was slow to come on to the social media network, but yes, tonight's show is online dating, managing social media. So that's our topic. So definitely want to, really hear from you all. How does social media support your dating process? Has it been a really key ingredient in the dating process for you? The internet, I mean, we are definitely at the place where we are digital citizens. And so just curious, how has social media impacted in a good way or maybe in a not so good way your dating life?
You know what's interesting? We want to give a shout out to a couple of people that are tuned in watching us as of right now. I see we have Kenny saying good evening, and then we also have all the way from Zambia, South Africa, Richard saying good evening to us. And that actually is relevant to our topic tonight because with the World Wide Web, which was instituted in 1995, it did allow us to connect all over the world where you could get online. Some of you all may remember dial up. I know I kind of date myself a little bit with some of these comments, but with the institution of the World Wide Web, it really changed essentially the dynamic of our society and the culture of our world, because it allows you to be able to connect with people around the world at a moment's time without necessarily the high cost as you would, for example, having to make a long distance phone call. Absolutely. And so even now with the institution of a lot of virtual presentation platforms, now being able to see and speak to people in real time, now that being transposed over to dating and getting to know someone.
Absolutely.
And reconnecting with individuals from your past who may have relocated out of the area, now being able to connect back with them, some old flames maybe.
I just had to ring the bell.
New feelings for some old flames, So.
It can definitely cause the heart to palpitate when you get that thing, on your inbox and your social media, and it's that ex-boyfriend or that ex-girlfriend from years back, and especially if you're not available, right? And they're reaching back out to you. Can you truly be friends with that blast from the past, right? But I will say this, according to Pew Research, 60% of American adults use social media, and 30% of those who are American adults use social media to get more information and potential dates. So social media, while we have dating apps, social media is absolutely, it has its fingerprint in this process of dating.
Yeah, it can be used in a myriad of different ways. So obviously social media, it allows you to connect with people in platonic ways. But again, also, as you mentioned, when it comes to dating, it allows you to actually do research on the individuals who you may be potentially interested in getting involved with. or even as you prepare to go on a first date, being able to do a little bit of research about that person, learn some of the things that they may be interested in, or even some of the individuals that they hang around. And so also 12% of American adults friended or followed someone on social media based on the recommendation of a friend, which means that someone said, hey, this is someone that I think you may be interested in, and they go right on social media and send them a friend request. And so I don't know if y'all are like me, but I like to vet people before I accept them as a friend. You know, I go and look on your photos and see what you have going on before I even accept the friend request, because with various things popping up in your news feed, I don't know if I necessarily want those types of relationships. But also, again, 15% of American adults use social media to then ask someone out on a date.
Now, we need to pause right there.
Absolutely.
Because would you say yes if someone asked you out on a date over social media?
Absolutely. That's a great question to ask. That's actually not one of our Speak Now questions of the night, but so in the chat, put in the chat, have you ever asked someone out on a date? And what was the response? Or have you ever been asked out on a date via social media? And what was your response? So tonight we're talking about, again, managing social media from the view and the lens of online dating. So as we prepare to get into our actual Speak Now question of the night, we want to hear from you as it relates to your experiences when it comes to social media. So our question number one, in regard to dating, have you ever connected or reconnected with someone you were interested in via social media? What was your experience? So I know that for me, and we'll talk about this a little later, but obviously when individuals send you a friend request from the past, individuals that you may have interacted with or knew, you know, there are some things that you may feel when you see that person. And so, you know, it's important that if you are in a relationship, that you are transparent and understanding how to manage that so that it doesn't compromise your relationship. But also too, again, the idea that the social media provides this place and this space and this platform to be able to make those connections.
I will say though that, you know, asking someone out on social media, I think there's so many hidden cultural things when it comes to the digital age that we're in, that there's a lot of unspoken things that you can easily misunderstand you know, a person or misread something if you kind of don't clarify things in the beginning. For example, I'm one of those people that I don't check social media every day. So somebody messages me and it takes me like a week or two to get back to you. It's very easy for people to say, oh, she's rude, or she is not interested. And it's like, no, I am not disciplined and I don't check my social media every day like other people. Right. So I can imagine in the dating world, that can be a challenge. If you're not consistent with social media, if you don't check it every day, I would imagine the inferences that can be made because of your behavior and or the lack of you responding, your response time, how you respond, it can really communicate to other people that perhaps she's not interested or perhaps he's not interested. And that may not be the case.
Absolutely. All right. So once again, you are tuned into Before I Do. Tonight, we're talking about online dating, specifically managing your social media. We are going to take a quick commercial break. But once again, a reminder of our first Speak Now question of the night. Question number one, in regard to dating, have you ever connected or reconnected with someone you were interested in via social media? And what was your experience like? If you've ever asked someone out on a date via social media, how did it go? If you were ever asked out on a date via social media, what was your response? You're tuned into Before I Do right here on the Couples Academy Network. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Okay, welcome back to Before I Do, and tonight's topic is online dating, managing social media. And our question that we posed before the break was, in regards to dating, have you ever connected or reconnected with someone that you were interested in via social media, and what was your experience? And love, thank you, Paul. All right, shout out to Paul, who sent us this awesome message and said, I met my fiance on a dating website. That's right. So awesome. And you are definitely a witness that, hey, you can find those genuine, deep connections, right, with an individual on social media. And I want to point out that 33% of U.S. marriages now begin online through dating apps or social media networks. And those marriages, get this now, those marriages are lasting longer on average than those that begin offline.
Absolutely. Remember, and again, this whole idea of dating online, as far as online dating sites and apps, this was so taboo 20 to 25 years ago, where it was completely shunned. The whole idea of you finding real love online, and the notion of catfishing also too was I told you so for people. Right. As it relates to, see, I told you that whole online dating and finding love could never be legitimate, and it would never work. However, now, as we mentioned, it's now become commonplace because we live in a digital world. We do have the majority of our interactions online, and so it's natural that when it comes to dating and relationships and meeting people, that also become a part of our structure. So
absolutely. And so let's talk about what are some of the pros and cons of using social media for dating. Okay. And I was going to say, Paul, definitely, you can put your experiences out there, but we are super happy that your fiance, that you got a fiance out of this experience. So super excited about that. But what are some pros and cons about dating on social media?
Well, number one, first of all, it's free. Can you please ring the bell for that? Yeah, so
it's free.
Well, social media again is free. It is something that everyone has access to. If you have a computer or you have an electronic device that can get on the internet, you can actually sign up for a social media website. What we like to say, especially to young people, is that if you have a camera phone, that is your film crew. Absolutely. And if you have a social media site, then that is your TV station. So everybody now has the opportunity to broadcast their life and their experiences for the whole world to see. So then the question then becomes, what do you want your channel to represent? What type of content do you want to display? And so everyone has access to social media. And so utilizing it to potentially meet someone that could be someone that you're interested in is a great option if that's something you're interested in.
Absolutely. Another benefit and pro to using social media for dating includes connecting via your common interests, right? So think about it, if we use just the random act of girl meets guy out at a club, a girl meets guy in a restaurant, or girl meets guy as she's hanging out with her friends, right? You have to go through that entire process of what are our common interests, right? Sometimes you can spend months, 2 months, right? Having to meet the person, having to have a great first encounter, and then unpacking all of those things, right? Well, social media is almost pretty much a resume. It is a social resume of an individual's interest, what they're passionate about, how do they spend their time, and what do they value? So their social media is almost like a social resume. So common connections, you're able to better connect the common interest. And so very powerful, and it can really save you a lot of time and being able to have access to their social media. And
that's a really great point, especially if you're an individual that struggles with the whole idea of dating. For a lot of people, this whole notion of having to go out with someone and mentally prepare yourself for what are we going to talk about? What if I want to talk about isn't interesting to her?
Absolutely.
You know, not everyone is an extrovert in the manner of just liking to interact and just talk to people.
Right.
And so, as you mentioned, having common interests via social media, now we have a built-in area where we know we have this or this particular thing or these few things in common. And so it allows you at least a launching pad and a starting point when it comes to being able to date someone. All right. So the number 3 thing that is a pro as far as with utilizing social media for dating is that there are plenty of fish in the sea. There are over 500 million active users just on Facebook. So with that number alone, just the chances and your odds of being able to connect with someone are obviously greater because you have a lot of individuals that you can potentially connect with. So it's one of the benefits of being able to get in a social outlet to connect with different individuals based on your common interests. It's free. So it's essentially like walking into a club. It's like going into a club, but instead of there being music, there are interest groups that you can go into.
Maybe not a good metaphor, but I was like, it's like walking into Sam's Club or Costco. You know what I mean? It's bulk. You know, it's a lot of variety. It's a warehouse of options, you know. But I will say this though, the whole plenty of fish in the sea thing, while that can be a great thing, some people love a lot of options. Some people, that's overwhelming.
Absolutely.
That can be overwhelming. So while a pro, you know, it can be a positive thing, it also can be a very big challenge, because how do you sort through all of that? How do you sort through all of those choices and options? But on the plus side, if you love a diverse fish, you want someone who is traveled, you want to meet someone across the ocean, right? You want to meet someone in a different country. Social media allows us and affords us that opportunity.
Absolutely.
To get that international love and heartthrob.
So we got a couple comments coming in, and I want to get Laquita's on. Laquita says, neither has happened as far as with her asking someone or being asked out on the date via social media. They be taken out on a date.
Okay, see, I'm gonna have to.
That is first of all, don't worry about that.
Absolutely.
Because that just means that you have not connected with the right individuals. And again, that's another one of the advantages of online dating and connecting with individuals virtually, is that it allows you and them to get to know one another separate from the physical. And so that is something that is very important, because again, it allows you to build a deeper connection without some of the superficial things that oftentimes come along with dating. So Laquita, we just want to encourage you.
Absolutely.
You are an amazing, beautiful, incredible woman, just so you know. So do not be discouraged by those interactions. You just haven't met the right people yet.
I haven't met the right people. That's right. And it's amazing how, again, depending on, you know, culture, background, mindsets, you know, there are certain countries where, again, you are not even considered beauty. We know that there's different standards of beauty in different countries. And of course, in the United States, the standard of beauty in the United States is ridiculously critical, especially critical of women of color, women who have curves. But then it's amazing how in another country, those curves, those hips, that butt, those thighs, those high cheekbones, that gap in the middle of your teeth, all of the things, right? The big lips, the small lips, you know, it's just amazing how where it almost is as if we appreciate what we don't have. We tend to appreciate what we don't have. And so I will say this, it is a very powerful thing for you to make sure that you love you carry yourself with the care, compassion, and love that you have, so that others can see you through your own lens.
And if I'm hearing you correctly too, because you talked about from an international lens, you may want to consider what it's like to potentially get to know someone maybe outside of the US,
outside of North America,
maybe in a different culture.
That's right.
That again is the benefit of the World Wide Web, is it allows you again to not limit yourself to individuals or a culture that you may be familiar with, or just one of your own, but also getting to know some other cultures outside of the ones that you may be more familiar with.
And I was gonna say, I might be corrected, but I was told at one point in certain regions of Africa, oh, they love a woman with hips and curves and all of that. As a matter of fact, you are more of a marriage prospect when you have curves. It is appreciated and it is valued.
Absolutely. So we had another comment from Paul as well. Paul said, I was worried about being catfish too, but when my wife and when my fiance and I started dating, I was in the same state and city.
Yes, which goes back to some of the tips we're going to provide about the importance of trusting, but you have to verify.
Yes.
You have to verify, and you have to beware of anyone who wants to stay away from showing themselves on camera and meeting you and really making sure that they can verify their identity.
And you're alluding to some of the cons when we talk about potentially dating and meeting individuals online. So one of the cons when it comes to dating via social media is tough competition. So the thing about social media community is that the size of it, we talked about just on Facebook, there being 500 users. That's a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So it can get a little tricky to stand out from the rest of the people when you're competing for somebody's attention. And so with Charmaine and I think I speak for you, we don't believe in competing for anybody's attention.
No.
I'm just gonna be me. She's just gonna be who she is, and we are going to attract exactly what it is that we want. And so we believe that what is for us is for us. And so we encourage others to do the same, which is an important point too, is that you want to be very careful about this whole idea of going into social media with this notion of the exact person that you want. You want to again allow your options to be broadened and to be open, and give yourself room for some things that you may not have necessarily considered.
And then the next one is a matter of luck. In other words, not all people who use social media websites are interested in finding a date.
Right.
So, we want to make sure that you're clear, you're explicit about what social media is for you. Is it literally a platform to be social? It is a platform, are you looking to date casually, and just really putting those things out there. I know sometimes people have said in the dating game, people ask sometimes very rude but very upfront questions to other people. It's okay to just say, hey, I'm dating, and I'm dating for this person. I'm dating for this purpose, and I'm dating for this reason. What does dating mean for you, and what is your intentions for it? And that's really important, because again, everyone out there that might ask you on a date, their intentions aren't necessarily to date, which is why when we broke down dating apps, there's specific dating apps that people tend to flock to based on their intention.
Absolutely. And so the last con, and Charmaine actually began alluding to it, is the drama factor. And so not everyone on social media is there for the same reason. So you have to be careful when you think about the idea of going on social media specifically to meet someone to date. Certain people are on social media just to be social. Certain people are on social media just to cause and stir up drama. And so the whole idea of all of these different intentions and purposes confluencing together makes for this menagerie of chaos sometimes. And it can be beautiful if you're one of those people that likes to sit back and just watch the drama, or like to go online to troll people, then it can be very enjoyable. However, if you are an individual that's online and you're looking to make a genuine organic connection with someone, being open to potentially meeting a spouse or a lifelong partner, don't allow yourself to be discouraged by individuals who may not necessarily be there with a different purpose.
Yeah. And I definitely believe that, you have to be careful. I mean, I used to at one point says, especially ladies, we need to be careful how much you put out there. But to be honest, equally in today's time, it doesn't matter. Everyone needs to be careful with their information and what they share on their social media platforms. And we want to go into our second question of the night. We want to know, do you have any red flags or concerns / boundaries about your partner's social media usage? So if you're in a relationship, we want to know, Are there any red flags for concerns, boundary issues about your partner regarding social media usage? And or have you in the past? Has social media ever caused any challenges for you in your relationships? And if so, in what area?
I know as a married couple, for us, we're very mindful of when we get those DMs. And for those of you who don't speak fluent virtual, that's direct message. So that is those private messages that you may receive again with someone from your past, someone that you may have gone to high school with, someone that you grew up with,
or a stranger,
absolutely, or a stranger, someone that's taken an interest or that has shown an eye, an interest in you. And we're always very open and honest about those messages and about those communications, and to those individuals communicating that I'm in a relationship, I'm married. And so it's very important, again, that you and your partner have those clear lines of communication when it comes to your social media etiquette. What is appropriate, what isn't appropriate, and making sure you have transparency.
Yes. And you know what? While social media is a very great thing and a very great option for dating, I will tell you, there's been times where I've been sent, you friend someone and it'll say, oh, well, this person's friends, with my husband or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, clearly, they should be okay. And then next thing I know, I'm getting a DM with a picture of their genitalia. And it's like, okay, delete. Or, or there's times where I know people have gotten offended when I friend them and they says, hello, how are you? And I'm thinking this is just like an automatic response. And I give them a thumbs up emoji, right? And they were completely upset because they felt like I didn't dignify them with a response.
Yeah, you didn't give them a genuine response.
I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, it says we're friends, but are we really friends?
Yeah.
We're just, open to getting to know each other. But I will say, going back to when you are in a relationship, it is really important to know that there are some things that you need to do to safeguard your relationship. For example, the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, right? AAML. Pretty much, they've taken a lot of data and let's be real, lawyers, right? They said 1 out of every 5 divorces in the United States is really the result of some type of social media conflict, challenge, or issue. And 81% of the country's top divorce attorneys say that pretty much they've noticed an increase in the number of cases that use social media as evidence in the past 5 years. So social media, while it is that social resume, it is also evidence. Evidence of your behavior, what you say, what you are not saying. So literally, ladies and gentlemen, and we're not saying that to be careful, we're saying that to have integrity.
Absolutely. So once again, our second Speak Now question is, do you have any red flags or concerns, any boundaries about your partner's social media usage, whether you're married or unmarried? We're going to take another quick commercial break, and we will be right back with more Before I Do. Greetings, everyone. Thank y'all so much for joining us for Before I Do. Tonight, we are talking about online dating, specifically managing your social media presence. Whether you are in a relationship currently or you're looking to be in a relationship, social media can be a very powerful tool to help facilitate you actually finding a potential partner. And it can also be a landmine for those of you who are currently in a relationship. Kenny makes a great point. Kenny says, absolutely, as a married couple, you have to have boundaries and look. Kenny says, look married in your photos. Ring the bell for that.
Yes, keep your shirt on.
Keep
your shirt on.
Certain people on their social media, they sure don't look married.
You really don't. You look like you. What the old people say. You look like you advertising. Okay. You look like you trying to recruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very important and very powerful. All right. I will say that again, when it comes to social media, if you are in a relationship, whether you're married or you're just dating, absolutely you need to safeguard your relationship, right? You need to set those boundaries. However, everyone has a different opinion about what those boundaries should be. So it's really important that you have your own set of boundaries, right? Your partner establishes what the boundaries are for them, and you guys are able to come together and have a cohesive conversation about those boundaries.
And it's important too, because part of the challenge is that, especially if your relationship was established online, there may be some distrust as it relates to your interactions and the way that you interact online apart from one another now that you're in a relationship. So it's important that whatever those boundaries or rules are, that they are clear and that both of you all have equal voice in that.
Absolutely, because some people, once they start dating you, they might say, okay, well, I am monogamous. Like, I'm not physically going out with anyone else, but I'm not digitally monogamous.
Right.
In the sense that I'm still talking to like 8 other women online because they're just my friends or I'm just being social. And so you really want to have those boundaries that, look, if we're going to be exclusive, right?
What does that mean?
Digitally, that means face-to-face. That means really establishing your boundaries and not allowing that person to tell you what your boundaries are, which is why it's important for you to establish that independent of your potential partner. And so going back to what we were talking about, there are 10 things that we kind of want you to know really quickly about social media and just things that you want to be mindful of if you're choosing to use social media as a platform to engage in your relationship. And the first one is online accountability. It goes back to what we were talking about, right? Making sure that your computers, your smartphones, your tablets, all of your monitors and things, and the websites that you use and the devices that you use, you want to make sure that you have an online accountability partner. For the two of us, there is an accountability system, besides the fact that, I have people who love me, like, I don't know, my mama always commenting, I think, on every one of your posts, right?
Pretty much.
Reminding everybody out there that, yep, he married to my daughter. So definitely shout out to the mamas out there who definitely looking out, and the sisters and the brothers and the family members who look out. And so I remember when you first got on social media, I wasn't on social media, didn't really care about it, didn't want to. And there were times where I can tell that there were certain like friends who just were a little concerned about other people and like little comments that they were making towards you.
Yeah, so that's that online. Then there's also that offline accountability as well. So just as you mentioned, those conversations with individuals that know you when you're not online, that can say, hey, some of the stuff you putting out there, you may want to be careful about what you're saying, or the photo you put up last week. I really don't think that's a good look for your brand.
Absolutely.
And it's important to have those eyes, those individuals that will be very candid and tactful, but also honest with you about your brand and your presentation and your social media presence.
Absolutely. And the third one, again, does your accountability partner have your passwords? Right. And so especially if you're married and or if you're engaged to be married. And so like I know Paul mentioned that he's engaged, he has a fiance. It's going to be important for you all to have that level of transparency and trust to really make sure that your passwords and those things are open.
Yeah, number 4 is don't overshare. There are certain things, part of the challenge, ring the bell on that, please.
Absolutely.
So part of the challenge, right? We talked about social media being your news station, is that there are certain people, because it is a voice box for their emotions, they say everything that they think. Everything that you think is not for public consumption. Everything that you think does not necessarily need to be given a voice, because when you give it a voice, you are speaking speaking things into existence.
Absolutely.
I don't want to start preaching,
Come on.
but the bottom line is we have to be very careful of the things that we speak and give life to.
Absolutely.
And so there are certain things, you know, that you're not always in your right mind. You know that you don't always necessarily sane as far as with some of the ways you're feeling, and you cannot give every emotion a voice, because when you put those things out there into the world in social media, then a lot of times that can cause a lot more damage, especially when a few minutes later or a day later, you're not feeling the same way, but now you're having to undo some of the damage that you've done.
Especially since we're on that spiritual note, let me tell you, and I especially when counseling and giving wise relationship counseling to women, oh my gosh, this is so big, because there's been situations where I've really had to remind some of our clients, like, you know what, be mindful of what you put out there, because you are spiritually led. It's very easy to believe that, oh my gosh, this guy came into my life. You know, he was saying all the right things, and I met him on this specific night, and I just knew it was God. And I said, okay. I says, well, you know, and they were like, well, this person had this, and that. And just the day before, I had posted something on social media and I said this, and this. And I says, okay, well, and then they showed up at my church. Again, did God send that person to your church?
Or did your person do good research?
Did that person do good research? Let's be honest, if you will go to, we all shop around, right? Some people shop around on social media. That person know what church you go to because you posting that, right? You post exactly what you wanted, right? And that person was easily able to say, oh, I just feel like I'm called to this. And you're like, oh, I just posted something about that yesterday. And you know what? I'm looking for a woman that's this, and this is Proverbs 31st. Oh, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. I mean, come on. So we have to be careful what we put. And then number 4, so definitely the oversharing is very important.
Absolutely.
And number 5, keep it public. Ooh. Yeah. So again, if you're in a relationship and you're committed, you want to make sure that you kind of refrain from the different privacy features where your partner isn't able to access your information, because that breeds doubt. That breeds secrecy, and it can really be a recipe for mistrust.
Absolutely. And so in regard to that, those DM messages like that we talked about, there's a difference when someone reaches out to you. Hey, they do a public post. Hey, Charmaine, this is so-and-so, haven't seen it in a long, and everybody can see it. Right. And there's another message that's communicated when somebody sends you a private message that's just for your eyes only. What exactly are they trying to insinuate and say? And so we need to always scrutinize that. Number 6 is keep your shirt on. Very simple. Be very mindful, again, not just of what you say, but what you show as it relates to social media. Now, obviously, again, you have the right to show whatever it is that you want to show, and you have the right to do that. But the challenge is, by the things that you are showing, you are communicating a message as well.
It's a billboard.
So what is it that you are advertising? So
yeah, your shirt off, you showing a 6-pack. I mean, are you selling something? Are you advertising? Like, what do you want people to be drawn to? Right? Number 7, make it not about you.
Ring the bell. That's a good one.
Big, yeah, that's really big. And I don't know what your thoughts are about this one, but you want to make sure that those pictures that are kind of, your Facebook friends and, anything about yourself, you want to make sure that you're very clear. To me, it goes back to the last one. You want to make it very clear what you're putting out there.
Well, I think too, even now we know, well, last night, today, just so you know, is Wednesday, November the 9th, and Tuesday, November the 8th was election day. So obviously it's that we're in this political season. Everybody's voting. Everybody's putting their opinions on. So some of them you like, some of them you don't, but a lot of them are very informative. And so again, utilizing your social media as a platform to have those type of courageous conversations, to raise awareness of certain issues and certain topics. It doesn't always have to be, again, about you and your experiences and the things you may be going through publicly. It may be an opportunity for you to actually have some conversations and facilitate some helpful dialogue and get people talking about certain things. Number 8, get your priority settings in order. Charmaine is actually really good about this when it comes to her notifications, the people who can tag her in certain posts or tag her in photos, the people who can see her page, the people who can't see it. So, you know, all those things are adjustable. For some of our educators that are out there, you don't necessarily want your students being able to look up your personal social media pages. And so it's important that depending on the season of your life that you're in, that you go into those settings and that you scrutinize exactly who is able to access what when it comes to your information.
Absolutely. If you're in a relationship, social media, and you're dating and things like that, but if you're in a relationship, right, whether you're married or just engaged, you want to make sure your computer, your devices, they're always in visible places in your home and your atmosphere, so that, again, there's a shared sense of accountability.
Absolutely. And the last one, number 10, is be prepared to have a plan in place. So you want to have some damage control. You want to have a plan in place for, again, your brand, the things that you post. And so you always want to make sure that you have a plan in place to really help manage your social media. Want to get to a couple of comments from Laquita, but as we get ready to close out, Laquita says, in my past relationships, women were reaching out to my ex and I wasn't aware until I found a receipt. I didn't mind my partner having a social media account. It's the sneakiness for me and not communicating about what occurred. So it's that type of secrecy and the lack of discretion as it relates to sharing with their partner and being open that can really cause damage to relationships. So if you're having a social media and you're in a relationship, it's important that you have that accountability and that transparency with your media accounts.
And we have this culture of, please don't let me find out about it. Like, you better make sure that you are proactive and you share with me. So when I did get somebody DM me and sent me, I can't say it on the air, but a picture of their genitalia, some guy or whatever, he was the first one to know. Like, he didn't have to find it in my phone or whatever. Like, he knew by my own mouth, and this was something I brought to him. Or when situations come up with him, he directly brings it to me. Because, at some point, if I find out about it, but you didn't tell me, like, that's a problem.
And also, too, I'll say that we talk about our brand, right? Your personal brand. So I've had individuals that I friended, and my page is public. And so anyone can post on my page. And so I've had people that I friended that they posted something inappropriate on my page. And people who, they know me, they know my brand, and they'll call me and say, hey, Walter, somebody posted something on your page, and so you may want to check it out and take it down. And it's because they know my brand. And so when you've been consistent, when you are intentional as it relates to your purpose when it comes to social media, then that's part of that plan and protecting yourself when it comes to your messaging. Hey, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to Before I Do. Hope you all learned something as it relates to social media and managing your social media accounts. Please be sure that you book us for a session.
Yes, we are relationship coaches. You are in a relationship with yourself. So whether you want a one-on-one session with me, whether you want a one-on-one session with Walter, or you are in a relationship, engaged to be married, thinking about it, right? Or even married and you want a wellness check, book us for a session.
We are your Couples Academy practitioners. My name is Walter Jennings.
My name is Charmaine Jennings.
Be sure to join us the same time next week for another episode of Before I Do. Good night, everyone.